Forced Witness is such a gem of an album to me. I absolutely love that thing. I think it's still one of the best of 2017. It's in my top three easily for that year. It's only gotten better over time. Each listen, I just still laugh so much at the things he comes out with on that thing. The satire on that thing is completely unmatched. There aren't many artists around today that even come close to that kind of thing on their albums. In fact, there aren't even that many artists that would attempt what Alex Cameron did, and if they were to attempt it, I don't think they'd pull it off anywhere near as well. And so to follow up that album, I think was quite difficult for Alex. I mean, you're either going to attempt to repeat the same thing you've already done, and the flair could just completely die out, or you could go for something different and people would be like, well, it's not the same, it's not as good as it was before. And I don't really know the answer to that, honestly. I don't know if he should have kept up the same shtick or if he should have dialed it down and completely changed things up. I don't know what the right answer is, but what I do know is what we've got on Miami Memory just isn't very good. That whole macho Marlon Brando type persona that he had going on Forced Witness isn't really there on this album here, Miami Memory. It feels very much reined in. There are little sparks every now and then that do remind you of that character, but the wittiness just isn't there. And the thing is that he didn't need to bring it back. He doesn't need to do the same thing again. But if you're going to replace that, you need to make the songs great. Like, the songs need to be exceptionally good, because the songs that we've got here aren't really that good. Some of the synths on this album kind of sound really ugly to me. I think the opening track, Stepdad, just has this really horrible clashing synth that's just like really like echoing in mix that I just really can't stand. A few other tracks as well feel very much like indebted to the Heartland rock era, you know, like the 70s type of stuff, which he was going for on Forced Witness, but I think he made it his own and made it fresh in a way, whereas the title track on this album doesn't really feel that to me. I know it's a really blatantly obvious comparison to make, but there are some Bruce Springsteen isms on this album that are a bit hard to shake off on tracks like Divorce especially. And these were the lead singles too, Divorce and Miami Memory, which were the tracks that got me a bit worried about this album because they didn't feel like I was listening to a unique artist. Because the thing is that, you know, tracks like Running Out of Luck, Stranger's Kiss, Politics of Love, all from his last album, weren't the most unique sounding songs to begin with. But Alex completely made them his own with his performances, and Roy's sax playing on those tracks too were just phenomenal. In fact, Roy is such a pivotal role, in my opinion, in making everything come together in Alex's music, because it adds to the kind of like cheesiness of Alex's delivery and his lyrics. Like, everything just feels right. It's what makes that little thing in your mind click when you kind of realize, oh, wait a minute, what he's saying here is all one big joke. And now that I've realized that, I'm in on the joke. This is hilarious. Whereas on this album, the music just isn't really matching up, really. And without that sharp humor as well, it really just feels like something is missing completely. And dropping lines such as like eating ass like an oyster, it's just so on the nose. It's just nowhere near as funny to listen to. And when it comes out of nowhere as well, you're just kind of trying to connect the dots between what is supposed to be the joke. There's no real punchline to it all. It really just doesn't work. There are some tracks that opt for more serious topics, which I actually think is pretty cool to see Alex doing. Like I've already mentioned, Stepdad, which is, you know, kind of celebrating the stepdad who's coming in to take the responsibility and, you know, being there for the children. Bad for the Boys is actually one of the more poignant tracks lyrically on the album, and it's actually a moment where Alex kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit, kind of taking you in into his kind of world and showing you why the things he's saying is actually bad. You know, his old macho shtick shouldn't be a way to look down on other men who aren't as masculine and that kind of thing. Talking about how, you know, times have changed and the PC brigade are all here to tell you what you can and can't say, that kind of thing. And he's just basically being like, well, yeah, who cares? I don't care if times have changed. Probably one of the better tracks musically as well. Easily the highlight on the album here for me, because I think the chorus is just really hooky and the music as well is really catchy on this track. It's just kind of Alex Cameron doing what he does best here. It's just a shame that this isn't more apparent on the rest of the album, unfortunately. Far From Born Again is just another one of those tracks where I'm struggling to connect the dots, struggling to find the motivation behind the lyrics. It's just a big miss for me, honestly. Talking about how this girl goes off the rails and starts doing porn again. I mean, the idea of that is funny in my head, but I just don't think the execution is there at all. And that's kind of what's annoying me most with this album, is that I keep saying this thing about how the humor isn't as sharp, but the thing is that I'm not looking for a funny album. I don't think I need every album from Alex Cameron to be hilarious, because I already have Force Witness. But the fact that you can tell that he's trying to aim for something funny and it's not landing is what makes the listen worse. Gaslight is another moment for me on the album that I feel this way about. Mostly for the music here, I just think it sounds really cheap and the vocals get really grating to me for some reason. And the last thing I want to mention really is just that there doesn't really feel like there's a tie-in to this all. Like, it's just kind of like a bunch of random songs about random things that aren't really connecting to one bigger picture, which would have probably made it a little bit of a more interesting listen, but it just isn't. It just feels like an unfocused album to me, honestly. Musically, it's not particularly very strong. I just couldn't imagine replaying many of these tracks in the future. Yeah, just a big disappointment, actually. Was definitely hyped for some Alex Cameron in 2019 again, but unfortunately it's just not been the kind of album that I was hoping for. Quite sad to say, but I'm going to go 5.5 out of 10. Didn't really get much out of this one, unfortunately, aside from maybe one or two tracks at the most. Let me know your thoughts on this one, though, if you do like it. Thank you for watching my review. Hope you subscribe based on the review. Let me know what I should talk about next. Have a good day and goodbye.